Minas Gerais, Minas Gerais, Minas Gerais.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Deep Sky Farms. We're enjoying our coffee this morning on the lovely Recanto de Alvadora map in Minas Gerais, Brazil. Today we're going to talk about using the manure system, and specifically using the manure system to move water around. We're going to pick some water up out of a pond, move it into a tank, move it into a greenhouse, and we're going to show a little bit about how to hook up a sprayer to the fertilizer tanks. So, without any further ado, let's hop into it. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to hook up the hoses and how to open and close the valves and how to work the pump. That's what everybody's here for. I'm not going to make you watch 12 minutes of video just to up my watch time. We're going to do what you want to see first, and then if you want to stick around for the rest of it, that's cool. We'll show some other stuff after that. But here's how we hook up the hoses and the pump. So first we take our hose off the side of the trailer. We just move up to it, wait for the hand to appear, and grab it with a left click. Then we move over to our coupling, and if you look at our F1 menu, our help menu, you'll see as we get close to it, we have a thing pop up at the top, right click to attach hose. So right click and the hose attaches. And we're going to do the same thing at the other end. Grab it, move up, wait for it to appear, right click, attach hose. So we're going to do the same thing for the other side of the pump. We're going to go back to our trailer and we're going to grab our other hose. We're going to walk up to it, move up, hand appears, left click, and we're going to drag it over here and we're going to chuck this end into the water. There we go. Now on this end, grab it, move over to the pump, right click, attach the hose. Okay, there we go. We're hooked up on both sides of the pump. So the next thing is to open the valves. So to open the valves, you walk up to the hose, and whenever the hand appears, you right click on it. There we go. We'll do it on the other side. Walk up to the hose, near the coupling, the hand appears, right click, and there we go. Now, one more time at the trailer, walk up, hand appears, right click, and the valve opens. This works the same. It's the same process on anything that has a manure system connection. Now, at this point, if you're trying this and you're clicking on things and it's not working and you can't get it to hook up, there are some known conflicts and they are documented in the README on the author's GitHub page. So I would suggest head over there, read the README. As of this recording, which is in July of 2024, for those of you in the future, there are known conflicts with the mod third person and with the mod precision hands. Both of these, or either of these, will interfere with your ability to connect the hoses. Specifically precision hands, I ran into that one myself when I first started playing with this, and it took me a while to figure out. So if you have any of these mods installed, try uninstalling them and see if that helps. That will fix 95% of the problems. The other thing to check while you're there and you have the README open, scroll down a little bit further. There are instructions there. Read through those. And below that, there is a list of compatible mods that work with this. Most of the base game slurry tanks will work with this. In fact, I think all of the base game slurry tanks will work with this. But check out that list. Make sure your particular piece of equipment is on that list. And make sure that it belongs to the collection that's listed in that list. I'll show you that later on with the sprayer where you've got what seems to be the same thing, but it doesn't work. Okay, so we're back in our tractor here, and you can see from the fill meter that our tank is in fact empty. So we're going to hop out of here and we're going to jump into the other tractor and I'll show you how to get the pump going. So step one of the operation is to start the tractor so that we can send power to the front PTO. Next, we press B to turn on the pump, and then we press R to activate the pump. And then we're just going to walk over and check, and you can see that our barrel is filling. Now, I'm just going to hop in the tractor, and I'm going to show you something that could be a potential sticking point. What I'm going to do is I'm going to reverse the flow of the pump. So I'm going to press B to turn off the pump, and you'll see we have a new option, Z, to change the pump direction from left to right to left. We're going to turn on our pump and activate it again and look at our barrel, and you can see that it's now taking water out of the barrel and pumping it back into the pond. We're going to let this go. We're going to empty it, and I'm going to show you what happens if you've got the pump set the wrong way when you first hook up. Okay, we're empty. So we turn off the pump, turn on the pump, activate the pump, and you'll see we're getting the pump source or target is empty. That means we're trying to pump out of an empty tank. So at this point, if you've hooked up and you're seeing that, shut your pump down, press Z, reverse the flow of the pump, and see if that gets things working. See? Change it from left to right. And there we go. And we're going to go and check our barrel again. And you can see we're filling. So when it says right to left and left to right, that's the orientation when you're standing in front of the tractor looking at the front of the tractor, not from when you're sitting in the cab. It's a little bit confusing to get used to. Next up, I'm going to show you how to tear down the system. We hop back in our tractor, press B to shut down our pump, just like every other implement. And then we hop out of the tractor again, walk up to our hose, hover our pointer or cursor over the end of the hose, the hand appears, and you'll see in our help menu, we now have the option to close the manure flow. So we right click, close the valve, and then left click to disconnect the hose. Now we do the same thing up at the tank. Right click, close the valve, left click, disconnect the hose. So we're going to stow our hose up on the trailer, just going to grab it, walk up to the trailer, and on this one the trigger is at the back of the trailer, and you'll see we now have the option in the help menu. Watch. As we walk up to the trailer, store hose, right click. There we go. And that's it. That's the end of part one. Now you should be able to set up your hoses, set up your pump, make it work, and then tear it down at the end and put everything away. There's one more possible gotcha to all of this. If it's not pumping, I'll show you the fact sheet again, and you can see here, what if it's not working on my map? It might not work with your specific mod map if it's not set up to support the water plane. The way to check this is to either contact the map maker or grab something like the Abbey 500 tanker or one of the base game tankers and try to load it from whatever water source that you're attempting to pump from. If it doesn't work with the base game stuff, it's not going to work with Manure system. And that's it for part one. If you found this helpful, if it's useful to you, give us a thumbs up, leave us a comment, share it with your friends. Every little bit helps to grow the channel, and I appreciate that. If you have any specific technical questions about the Manure system mod, contact the mod author, Wopster. I would suggest asking them on their GitHub. That would probably be the best bet. And then we're going to move on to part two. Part two, we're going to empty out this tank, and we're going to look at hooking up to IBCs, and we're going to look at hooking up to a fertilizer sprayer. So if you want to see that, stick around. If you're going to bail out because you've got the information you needed, thanks for coming out. I appreciate it. We'll see you next time. But stick around for part two anyway. It's going to be pretty good. All right, welcome back to part two. We've got our trailer With some water in it, it's full. Well, 99%, but it's still full. And the way this works is the same as literally any other trailer in the game. We roll up, cross the trigger, and when the trigger lights up, we're good to go and start unloading. And that's it. It's as simple as that. Then we double check, we walk over, have a look at our greenhouse, and when we walk into the info trigger of the greenhouse, you'll see 5,000 liters, we're good to go. The first pump that we're looking at here is the small water pump. It takes the fertilizer hose. This one here, this is the stall camp pump that comes with the manure system. We already demonstrated that one out in the field. This is the smaller of the two Borger pumps by Vertex Design. And this one over here is the larger one. Functionally, these pumps are all identical. The only difference is in how their valves and their couplings are set up. The next component in the system are the hoses. First up here on the bottom, we have the fertilizer hoses. They come in different colors, but only one configuration and length. They've got the small couplings on the end, and they'll hook up to the small water pump and the IBCs and fertilizer sprayers. The rest of these hoses are all slurry hoses. They come in two different lengths and two different configurations. The short ones are 3 meters long, the long ones are 5 meters long. And you can see there's two different style of ends. This one here is a regular hose. It goes from connector to connector, and this one's an extension hose. These ones, you can daisy chain them together to make as long a hose as you need. To hook the hoses together, it's the same process as hooking up to any other coupling. You grab your hose, you walk up to the receiving end and get close, right click, and there you go. Okay, we'll do it again with this one here. Move this down to the other end. And we'll stretch this out a little bit further, kind of keep it straight and neat. Or not. Now, note, if you grab it by this end and try and connect it, watch. It won't connect from this end. You have to be using the male end of the hose to get it to connect. See, there we go, right click, and there we go. So now we have an 11-meter long connection system. Let's look at these IBCs. I have the Helm and the Cortiva IBCs. These are base game IBCs. The one on the far left is the sulfuric acid IBC from the Farm Productions pack. And if you look at the front, you see they've got the little taps on the front. But if you come around to the back of them and look at the bottom, you can see on the two base game ones, there's connectors there. Manure System puts those connectors there. But if you look on the Lizard one, the sulfuric acid one, there's no connector there. And I suspect that's because Manure System hasn't been updated to work with that particular DLC yet. I don't know if it's going to happen. It might happen. Anyways, connecting hoses to IBCs, same process as everything else. Grab your hose, rip it around, walk up to the connector port. There we go. Right click. And the hose attaches. And then you can hook this hose up to the small pump or to a sprayer. Okay, let's fill up another barrel. This one here that we're hooked up to with the Unimog, this is the second flavor of the SEMO barrels. This one takes the smaller fertilizer hose connections. This barrel, it only does water and milk, if I remember correctly. And it uses the small water pump. This one is by Silent Modding, and the trailer and the barrel are also by Silent Modding. But it works functionally the same way. The only thing is the pump is configured. It's configured differently. It's a little bit smaller, a little bit slower, and there's no valves to mess around with. So we've dropped off our trailer. We're going to back our Unimog around to here and kind of point it in the way that we need to point it. And hookup is exactly the same as I showed you in part one. Grab our hose, get it over somewhere near the pump, go. Onto the pump. And we're going to lower that pump down, make our lives a little bit easier. There we go. We're connected. And we'll grab our other hose and we'll try and get that hooked up too. It's a little bit like dealing with stiff spaghetti. There, we got our feet wet. And we're going to hook it up to the front of this one. This one, the trigger on it is small-ish, so you have to be kind of precise and slow moving with it, which I am not doing here. Also, watch your F1 menu. That's one thing I always forget to do when I'm using this pump is watch the help menu, and it will show you when you're good to go. There you go. So all exactly the same procedure. No valves to worry about. Just hook it up and you're good to go. Okay, so then we come around, we hop back into the Unimog, turn everything on, and start the water. We'll walk over and confirm it is pumping. We can see that. Now, the only thing about this pump and these hoses is they are on the slow side. It does take a while to fill 10,000 gallons. So while this is filling, we're going to take a walk over to one of the fertilizer sprayers that we've got set up over in the yard, and we're going to have a look at that. We'll be back to this in a little bit when it's full. I think I left the Yamaha running. Okay, so this is the base game Rubicon 9000 sprayer, and you can see we've got it hooked up to an IBC with one of the fertilizer hoses. And this works exactly how you would expect. You know, grab it, right click to attach the hose there, and then right click to attach the hose here. There. And then we hop in it, start our engine. Okay, R to activate the pump of the sprayer. And we start filling. And we're just going to let that fill up. Now, I'm going to show you another sprayer. This sprayer looks and is basically identical to the first model. It's the same model, but this is from the Precision Sprayer Pack, and it's not on the list of supported equipment. So even though it looks the same, this one does not work with the Manure system because it is not one of the base game models. It would be relatively easier for the modder to add support, but as far as I know, they haven't. If you want to try it, if you feel confident, there is a good how-to system on Wopster's GitHub page that will step you through adding Manure system support to it. Next up, we're going to look at some IBC containers because not all IBCs are created equally. We're going to look at the base game ones first, and we're going to get just your regular fertilizer one. First one we're going to get is non-refillable. Okay. The next one we're going to get is refillable, and Manure system adds this option into the game when you install it. And the next one that we're going to get, this is the fillable IBC tank. Note that this is not the refillable IBC from Weasel. That was released literally as I was recording this, so I didn't have a chance to test it. This is the other version that was released in January. So again, you see on the front, they've got the little yellow valve on the front, and on the back, we have connections. And it looks like there is no difference between fillable and non-refillable, at least in terms of connection. Yeah, that was the first one we bought. That was the non-refillable one. Let's try the other ones. Yep. And then this one will work just fine. All right. So that's our different flavors of IBC. Now for one more, I'm going to disconnect from the sprayer at this end. And we're going to move around and we're going to disconnect from the IBC at this end. And this IBC is now empty. Drag our hose out of the way a little bit. This is empty. This we can pick it up and chuck it over with these ones. There we go. And we're going to hop into our sprayer and you'll see we have 2,000 liters on board. What we're going to do is we're going to press I to unload the liquid fertilizer from the sprayer. There we go. Now let's go have a look at this thing. And you can see when this spawns, this doesn't have a manure system connector on the back. So what we've got here, we're hooked up to a Westeel liquid tank that I've modded. It's a mod of a mod. This isn't available anywhere, but there's instructions on Wopster's manure system GitHub on how to do this, how to add a node. I think it's about 8 lines of code. Read the instructions, you'll figure it out and have a little bit of fun with it. So even after all that, we're still filling this barrel, and I've cut a lot out in the editing process. So I'm going to shut this down and I'm going to show you something neat that you can do with it. It may not be entirely useful to you, but I think it's neat that you can do this. So we'll shut her down and we'll disconnect our hose from this end, and we're going to see if we can just kind of loop it around back here. Oh, no, maybe, give it up. Yep. No. Okay, let's do it like this then. Disconnect it from this end. Hook it up. And this is why I took the Unimog for this trip. And then where I go? Oh, there we go. We're connected. And then we hop back in the Unimog and start up the pump and all of that good stuff. And there we go. We're filling our unit. We're filling an IBC with 1,000 liters of water in one simple self-contained connection. Is this useful? Not really, because you can't empty the IBCs into anything without pumping them. Okay, so we got our tank as full as we want to fill it, and we've got our IBC filled up. Let's take this over and pump it out. I've got a little New Holland tractor over here hooked up to a small water pump and a tank, and it's going to be the same process as pumping fertilizer into the sprayer from the tank, but this is going the other way, out of this tank into that storage tank. And again, what we have is a mod of a mod. I've added a node and a connector so that the manure system will hook up to this thing. All right, so we'll back up to it. There we go. And make our connection. Just enough. Just enough. And you'll see the tank is empty. Let's hop onto this New Holland here. I want to use this in a game for something. Fire it up. Turn on the pump. Activate the pump. See, pump source or target is empty. That means I have it going in the wrong direction. There we go. We got it. We got it going now. Now for the IBC, I've unstrapped it, and we've got our little front loader here. And we're going to take it and we're going to try and empty it into that second greenhouse. That has no water in it. And you'll see what I mean by you can't empty them directly. We got to pick it up. Oh, that's heavy. For this little loader, that's heavy. And I guess that's why I don't use front loaders a whole lot. And you'll see as we come in here, we should be right within the trigger and we're not getting anything. We'll shake it around, bump right up to the barrel. It's just not giving us the action to empty it. So we're going to take it over and we're going to grab an Abbey trailer and we're going to pump from, well, we're not going to pump, we're just going to fill the Abbey trailer out of the IBC, the same as you would as if you were filling a fertilizer sprayer out of a vanilla IBC. Just take this and set it over here. And we'll hook up our Kubota to the Abbey trailer and roll up beside it. And you'll see it's just base game standard stuff off of it from here on out. Fill up our tank. Just like that, 1,000 liters. And we wheel on over to our greenhouse, get the trigger, out we go. So the last thing I want to look at are these two Borger pumps. And the first pump is the smaller of the two. And you can see it's got the two inlets pointing back towards the cab of the tractor. And the first time I messed around with these, I had a heck of a time making it work just because of the geometry. See, you get it set up like that, and oh, but it is in there. It works. But as I was messing around with it, I took and I actually paid attention to the help menu. So if you get back in your tractor and look at your help menu, you'll see you have controls with your mouse. These are on the crane axes. And as you move up and down, you'll see that the inlet and the outlet are spinning around. Once I found this out, I thought this was the coolest thing in the world. So you can point these at whatever you need to point them at. Hook up your hose, and Bob's your uncle. You're good to go. That makes life so much easier like that. And as a bonus, there's no valves to deal with. Now, the absolute last thing to deal with is this big Borger pump here. You can see that there's two connections on it that are the same and one is different. The two smaller ones are standard manure system connections and they work the way that you would expect them to. The last one, and it threw me for a loop, this one right here, it's just decorative. It doesn't do anything. There's no node, there's no connection, there's no nothing. And that's it. We made it to the end. Thanks for coming out. Thanks for taking the time to tune in. I hope this was useful and showed you some stuff that you didn't know. If you like what we're doing, leave us a thumbs up, give us a comment. If you want some quality Minecraft content, check out Otter Plays. They've got some cool stuff going on over there. Yeah, I knew that was going to happen. That's why I don't drive sprayers. I always get tangled up with them. Anyways, thanks for coming out, y'all. I hope you enjoyed it. Until the next time we see you, take care of yourselves.